On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered in their off-campus college home at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. Just 47 days later, a suspect was arrested in Pennsylvania, where he was staying with his parents, probably for the Christmas holiday. If you'd like to catch up on all the details of this case, I have linked my playlist for you in the description box. That would be a good place to start if you know nothing about this case. For most of you who have been following this case from the beginning, today's episode is a summary of the search warrants that have been executed on Bryan Kohberger's apartment and office in Washington and associated with WSU. That's where he had an office because he was a teaching assistant. He was a PhD student of criminal justice at WSU. Then there was also the search warrant in Pennsylvania after the police had arrested him there on December 30th, and that is a list of what they seized from his home and from the car. So we're going to distinguish those two things today as well and look at what compelling evidence do they really have against him that we, the public, know of at this point based on all these unsealed documents that have recently come to light. Before we get into all those details, my name is Gisela K. Thank you so much for tuning into this video today. If you are brand new here, I hope that you will consider subscribing and hitting the bell and becoming part of this fantastic community. Also, so that you know when I next upload or go live or make a short for you or a community post, I'm always doing something on this channel for you. Okay, so now let's dive into these search warrant details. We're starting right from the very beginning. So what I have here, because most of us here are visual learners, are some pictures of, for example, the type of knife sheath that they said they found next to Madison Mogen's body. It was a knife sheath from a USMC K-bar knife. And they said there was a single source of DNA on the button snap. Now the snap can mean that it's either on the button or on the other side, you know, where it snaps closed, could be there as well. And we don't know what that single source DNA is. It could be hair, sweat, saliva, touch DNA, a booger, for all we know. We don't know. And then there was also a latent shoe print outside one of the surviving victim's rooms right by her door. And they said it had a diamond print sole like a Vans shoe. Now, the shoes that we've seen them seize from his apartment and also from the house in Pennsylvania and the car and everything, we don't see any Vans listed, but of course there's many shoes that could have a diamond type of sole pattern. So here from this little clipping you can see on November 13th, 2022, a sheath was recovered at the King Road residence under or next to the body of Madison Mogen. The Idaho State Crime Lab obtained a male DNA profile, suspect profile from the sheath. This is also referred to in Sergeant Blaker's sworn statement Exhibit A. Now remember, when they arrested him in Pennsylvania, they'd initially said they watched him for a number of days, and on one of the days he actually took out the trash wearing surgical gloves. They then went through that trash, and via familial DNA, they were able to match his dad's DNA to this single source DNA profile. To clarify, again, in case anyone's lost, that doesn't mean that his dad's DNA was found on the button snap. It's just that the relative of his dad was matched to this DNA, which is how they got the search warrant then to go in there and arrest him. He is the one they were after. The other interesting thing is, with all these search warrants, we haven't seen a list of what they found in their trash. So I don't know if there's like a separate search warrant for the trash bag or a separate list somewhere. That we don't know. But either way, they got what they needed. So I've highlighted here the date that this was issued. It was issued on the 29th of December 2022, and the date that the search warrant was served at his apartment in Washington was on the 30th, the same day that he was arrested at his home, his parents' home in Pennsylvania. So what I've done is take this list and make it bigger over here for you so that I can just remind all of us, we can recap and refresh now. What did they find in his apartment? So what they listed was 1 nitrile type black glove, 1 Walmart receipt with 1 Dickies tag, 2 Marshall's receipts, a dust container from a Bizzle Power Force vacuum. Later in this presentation, I'll show you what that vacuum, an example of what it might look like. 8 possible hair strands, 1 Fire TV stick with cord or plug, 1 possible animal hair strand. And then they say 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair strand, 1 computer tower, and then 1 collection of dark red spot collected without testing. B, 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow of reddish or brown stain, larger stain tested. C, 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C. Multiple stains, 1 tested. Now with that, a lot of people are like, oh my word, it could be blood. And yes, it could be, but it could also be from, a shaving nick or something. It could be from a pimple, for all we know. We just don't know exactly what that means and what the test results of that are. The 1 possible animal hair strand is interesting. If that does somehow prove to be Murphy's, the Labradoodle that was found alive at the house, which was Kaylee's dog, then that will be very interesting because from what we know, Bryan Kohberger didn't have any pets. Now, Bryan Kohberger, as I said, was arrested on December 30th, 2022 in the early hours of the morning at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. The house is pictured behind me here. And then they'd also searched the white Hyundai Elantra, which so happened to be a 2015 model. And for a few days before, the police had also watched him meticulously clean that car. But you see, they needed that search warrant to be able to arrest him. I'm pretty sure that they would have loved to arrest him before he meticulously cleaned that car. The search warrant that we went over in a live stream yesterday, depending on when you're watching this, actually includes what they found in the car as well as what they found in the house. There's been some confusion. Some people have thought that everything that was listed was found in the car, but we're going to distinguish what did they find in the car and what did they find in the house. So let's go through that. So let's start with what they found in the car. A 2015 Hyundai Elantra bearing the VIN number. They got it all listed there. Description of items. Swabs. That would most likely be the buccal swabs that they collected from Bryan Kohberger, because these items listed are what they collected and seized. So swabs could be part of the collected items. A Ziploc bag with a pink zipper. That's what is pictured above me. There's an example picture because I see some people have been confused about what that is. 7 quarters, a plastic baggie with a green zipper, which is also pictured here right behind me. An example of it. 36 dimes, 32 nickels, 8 pennies. I'm guessing all the small change is to pay for toll roads and things like that. Gloves, receipts, car insurance card, car registration, hiking boots, comfort in room key holder and stay information, tire irons, shovel, goggles, floor mats, reflective vest, used water bottles, wrench, door panel, seats and seat cushions, headrest, seatbelt, visor, fiber, brake pedal, gas pedal, phone charger, band-aid, wrappers, maps, documents, and seatbelt boot. Now, none of these items are particularly interesting. I'm pretty sure any car that one would search would have these types of things in it. Maybe not a shovel and goggles, I don't know, but maybe one would have it. Remember, I'm from South Africa, where it's very sunny all the time. We don't really have snow there. It's only like maybe once every few years we'll have like a day of snow or something that is like a freak weather incident. But a shovel might just be to shovel some snow or something like that, right? You guys can let me know in the comments below. But here really, I guess they took all these things, like some people are saying, why would they list brake pedal, gas pedal, and all that? Because they're going to test all of it. They're going to be testing all of that for, as you can see, fiber, for any little bits of DNA, for transfer DNA from that white Elantra was apparently seen in the area, circling the area right before the murders had occurred, and also he had returned to the scene based on cell phone records and the Elantra being seen on camera and things like that after the murders. And that was like 9:30 in the morning. Either way, that would likely mean that he left the house, got in his car, did that long drive. We've mapped it out, we've flown it out, we've done all of that. So go check out those episodes if you missed it. But transfer DNA is very likely. And no matter how much you clean your car, those little tiny forensic samples could still be there. So that's what they got from his apartment. Nothing really was found in his office. And now we're going to look at what they took from his parents' house, the place where they arrested him from in Pennsylvania. Okay, so I've taken myself off the screen so that you can see very clearly this entire list that we went over yesterday. If you were at the live stream, we were going over it live, looking at everything with this. Some of the words are written nicely and some of it's a little bit of chicken scratch. So it was a little bit hard to read. Thank you so much to Van, Lisa, Kathleen, and every other Grizzly who sent me a list of what they've decoded from the chicken scratch, combined with everyone that sent me that and what I have also decoded. We now have a pretty accurate list of what we can read here. So, 1, knife. Now that is an unspecified knife. We don't know if it's a K-bar knife. We don't know if it's a pocket knife. We don't know if it's a butter knife. We don't know what type of knife that is, but it is one of the 3 knives listed in this entire document, which is unspecified. Meaning the other 2 knives, they specify what it is, and this one, they didn't. 2, book with underlining on page 118. They didn't tell us the title of the book. We have no idea what book that is. We can only assume it would be books that he's been studying from or something. But they specifically said book with underlining on page 118. So there's that. AT&T bill for Bryan Kohberger. We know that he signed up for this AT&T cell phone contract in around June of 2022 before he'd moved out there to go and study as a PhD student at WSU. 4, Glock 22 Gen 5 40 caliber serial number BMK V5QI. Now 5 is a Smith & Wesson pocket knife. 6, folder containing vehicle paperwork. 7, Acer laptop model number. The whole number is listed there. 8, green leafy substance in a green container. I know that everybody assumes that that's MJ, and maybe it is. However, it could also really be something like green tea or some kind of, athletic greens, a green powder, some kind of drink that he has for nutrition. We just don't know. But they say green leafy substance in a plastic bag. I mean, it could be kale chips for all we know. 11, white paper with password. 12, power cable. 13, cell phone. So now we know they did take a cell phone, which one can assume then it's his cell phone that they've taken. I'm sure that's going to have a lot of information on it. 14, 3 Glock 40 caliber magazines empty. 15, books. 16, black face masks. 17, prescription. 18, black gloves. 19, 1 black hat and 1 black mask. So what I could say about that is, of course, they are looking specifically for black clothing. This whole list, there's a lot of black clothing listed, but it doesn't mean that he only has black clothing. It's just that black clothing in the search warrant is what they were looking for, because one of the surviving victims had actually seen a man clad in black leaving 1122 King Road wearing a mask over their mouth. They didn't talk about a beanie or anything like that, but a mask over their mouth. They saw bushy eyebrows, and so therefore, based on that, I think they're looking for a whole lot of black clothing and gloves and things like that. The prescription, we don't know exactly what that would be for. Maybe he was on something for that visual snow syndrome that he said he was suffering from, which we've gone over before as well. But either way, we just don't know what the prescription was for. You can also see on every page that his dad is the one who signed off there on it, Michael F. Kohberger. You could see there at the bottom. Okay, so to continue on. 20, personal identifying documents. 21, New Balance shoes. Yes, we've seen photos of his dad wearing what appears to be New Balance shoes, so it could really be his dad's shoes. It could also be a pair of his shoes, but again, it's not Vans. 22A, dark colored jackets. 22B, dark jackets. 22C, dark colored jackets. 22D, dark colored jackets. 23A, B, and C are dark-colored shirts, and 24A and B are dark-colored pants. 25 is clear plastic glove. 26, one Asus laptop with damage. 27, one HP laptop with damage. 28, PSP, which is like a police service pistol. Now just know, it doesn't mean it's a police gun. This PSP application, and then they say / record of Glock 22 Gen 540 caliber gun, right? This is a popular police service pistol, but it doesn't mean that this is a police gun specifically. But what they wrote there was PSP application / record of Glock 22 Gen 540 caliber. 29. Item photographed but not taken. I don't know what that would be. None of us know what that would be. I'm very curious though. What's the item that was photographed but not taken? 30. Note in desk. 31. Criminal psychology book, which makes sense based on his studies. 32. Documents and DeSales University notebook. Remember, he studied at DeSales University before he transferred over to WSU. 33. Extra large Columbia Navy fleece. 34. A man's world drawing. Now that could mean many things. Many of you have sent me the picture. We did look at it yesterday in the live stream if you want to see that. But it could mean so many things. If you type in a man's world, art, drawing, a man's world detective magazines, which BTK, the BTK killer, Bind, Torture, Kill, Dennis Rader, was very into those types of magazines. And the fact that Bryan Kohberger was studying under Professor Ramsland, who is in contact with and has written a book with BTK, you see, if he was admiring, for example, BTK, then one could speculate that he was collecting the same sort of a man's world detective magazines. But if it's a drawing, it would make sense that it is the Sigmund Freud man's world drawing. It's actually called A Man's Mind, that drawing. And let me know what you see there from 34. I see a man's world drawing. Some people see that word is a man's mind drawing. Either way, that could be interpreted many ways, even though, yes, the most plausible one is probably the Sigmund Freud one. 35. ID cards inside glove, inside box. I wonder how many ID cards he had inside a glove, inside the box. Maybe it's just his and his dad's or something like that. Maybe it's an old one and a new one. We don't know. 36. Various criminology books, notes, license, card. 37. Dark color hat. 38. Black gloves. 39. Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte Samsung solid state drive. 40. Black box Samsung NVMe solid state drive. Evo 500 gigabyte box with Intel Optane in box. So there could be a lot of digital evidence on those solid state drives, but yet, the thing is, he was a criminal justice student. Criminology was totally his thing. So I would imagine that what he had stored, what he had written about, what he had studied and everything could be on there, and that would be hard to then prove that it's in any way related to the crime that took place at 1122 King Road. 41. 2 pairs of black gloves, 1 black knit hat. 42. Dark green short sleeve shirt, black long sleeve shirt, black sweatshirt, grey jacket, 2 pairs of black pants, 1 pair of black jeans, 2 pairs of black jeans. 43. 2 black long sleeve shirts, 2 pairs of black pants, 1 grey jacket, 1 grey knitted hat, and 1 black glove. 44. Motherboard, SN, and then you can see the number there. 45. Washington State University paperwork. 46. Note from Bryan from Montana. 47. Craftsman shop vac. We'll look at a picture of that later. 48. Medical documents. 49. Court documents. The court documents could be related to those seat belt infractions that he had, where he was actually caught on body cam in, if I remember correctly, August of 2022. And that seemed to be one of the times that he was also listed as being in the area of the house. So maybe those court documents are related to that, but yet we don't know. 50. Note to dad from Bryan. 51. Maroon colored spiral notebook. 52. Dark colored clothes. 53. HP 100B all-in-one computer. 54. Lenovo IdeaPad laptop and password. 55. Tangent model medallion 5155B desktop. 56. Dark clothes in laundry basket. 57. Tailor cutlery knife with leather sheath. So that would be the third knife listed. You saw the one was a unspecified one, then there was a Smith & Wesson one, and now the Tailor cutlery knife with a leather sheath. From 58 to 61, swab, S1, S2, S3, and S4. 62, 2 pairs of dark colored boots, and 63, 1 pair of brown boots. So that is a summary of everything they found at his apartment that was in Washington, then what they found in his car, the Elantra, and then what they found in the house in Pennsylvania. So of the 3 knives listed, these are just example pictures. It's not exact replicas. I just wanted to bring you some examples. One was an unspecified knife. The next one was a Smith & Wesson pocket knife. So they look something like that. You can see on the blade it says Smith & Wesson. And then there's a Tailor cutlery knife with sheath. These are 2 examples I found, but there's actually many different varieties, many different types you can find. If you look for a Tailor cutlery knife with sheath, there's also a Tailor cutlery knife I found, which is a fish filleting type of knife. And we know that he worked at a fishery filleting fish. He didn't do all that well. He apparently only worked there for 20 days and then wasn't very proficient at it, didn't make eye contact with any of the clients, and was essentially let go. So maybe it could even be a knife from that time that they found at the house. But either way, there's 3 knives listed, and none of them say K-bar or anything like that. Not that we know what the unspecified one is. Fury wanted to say hello. He's probably going to see these vacuums and want to go. A vacuum? Cats don't like vacuums. So remember at his apartment, they got the dust container from a Bizzle Power Force vacuum. And then at his parents' house, they also took a vacuum. I wonder what sort of fibers those may have. There's going to be quite a lot to go through, huh? So if we look at example pictures of those vacuum cleaners, one from the apartment would be this Bizzle Power Force one over here. And then the one from his parents' house would be this Craftsman vacuum cleaner. This is probably what he used to, clean out the car and everything, which is why they would be interested in this, so they can go through all the fibers of everything that he had vacuumed in case it has some evidence in it. So what is the most compelling evidence that they have so far, based on what we, the public, know, based on all these search warrants that have now been unsealed? I would say the top one would be the knife sheath that was found next to one of the victims' bodies, which was Madison Mogen. and the single source DNA that was on the button snap. Then there's the latent shoe print. Then there's the possible animal hair strand, which they'd be testing. If it does turn out to be a Labradoodle's or specifically Murphy's, that'll be very interesting. And then the cell phone, and of course, all the data associated with all the computers and solid state drives and everything that they had confiscated. I think that's the most compelling evidence that they have so far. I still don't feel that this is a slam dunk case by any means based on everything they have. Let me know what you think. Are you convinced that like, oh man, there's no way that he would ever be acquitted or exonerated, as he says? When he says he's eager to be exonerated, it's interesting because to be exonerated, you would first have to be found guilty and sentenced, and then you would get exonerated if successful after that. But do you think that the evidence that they have against him, based on everything we know, is enough? In your personal opinion? I mean, some of the compelling evidence is also that his phone was in proximity to the house at least 12 times leading up to these murders. However, the radius of that cell tower is something like 10 miles. So I wonder how they know, unless it's based on video evidence that they have. For example, some other compelling evidence they have would be video footage of that Elantra circling the area before the murders took place. Bryan Kohberger's preliminary hearing has been set for June 26th. It is at that point at which he will enter a plea of either guilty or not guilty. He is being represented by Ann Taylor and J. Weston Logsdon. And yesterday in the live stream, we went over a whole bunch of new documents in the case, so please do check that out. I've linked it for you in the description box in case you missed that. Thank you so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video and share it. You can share it hashtag Idaho Students, hashtag Bryan Kohberger, and hashtag Grizzly True Crime. If you tag me on Twitter, then I can retweet that as well. I'm not sure what other information would come out before the trial. I feel like now probably everything so far that we could have through legal documents and factual updates is out and about now. So June 26th would be the next important date. But as you know, if there are any updates or if there's any breaking news or anything like that, I will update you. Make sure that you are subscribed. Put the bell on to all notifications so you don't miss out when I do premieres or video uploads or live streams or whatever it is that I'm making for you. Stay safe. Happy weekend, depending on when you're watching this, and I will see you in the next one.